Hello, Rebekah Bastian. Glad to be here. As you just heard, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at mpathic. And mpathic is a really cool women-founded AI safety company. We work with AI builders to ensure that interactions, particularly more risky or nuanced ones, are safe for people. So things like interactions with children, people with mental health issues or medical concerns, making sure that safety and accuracy is really a top priority there. I just started at mpathic a few months ago, actually. And to be perfectly honest, it's my first time as a chief marketing officer. I've been a product leader through most of my career. And it's also my first time working directly in AI. I've worked with AI for a long time, but really being in the weeds with what's being built here, it's a first for me too. Which, if any of you know me at all, you know that I'm always doing something for the first time. That's kind of my MO. And I've really designed it that way. I've tried to create a career that's more of a jungle gym than a ladder, and am always trying to take big swings or big lateral moves. I find that it's a lot more fun that way. So I've done entrepreneurship, building things within existing bigger companies, and entrepreneurship. I've built and sold my own startup. And I've been an executive across different verticals and industries. And it stays really exciting that way. I have this philosophy that there's not a single one right path through life. I know a lot of people, probably people here, feel like you're supposed to know exactly where you're going and how you're going to get there. And like it's supposed to be this linear path. And I've talked a lot about, and actually wrote a Choose Your Own Adventure book about the idea that no, I think it's actually supposed to be twisty and turny and unpredictable. But I do get asked sometimes when I'm talking about that, well, how do you even know what direction to be going in if there's no one right path? And I actually have an answer to that, if I can make the click work. Yeah. So what I like to do is triangulate the answer to 3 different questions. What you're passionate about. So thinking about, what are the ideas that energize you or that you can't stop thinking about? And then what are you good at? Which, that could be things like jobs on your resume and the direct skills that you've gained from those. But I would say that it's probably much bigger than that, right? There's all facets of our life, like you've heard about tonight, that we're gaining skills from. And then the third question is, where am I needed? And sometimes that's a job posting that has a neat description, or it's someone asking you to do a thing. But oftentimes, I think where you're needed might be just recognizing that there's a problem to solve and that you could be the person to solve it. So for me, I was taking a few months off in between jobs recently, and I was answering these questions for myself and thinking about that. And even though I haven't, worked deep in AI before, I did feel like the future of humanity feels like a pretty important place for me to be. And I think that that's really impacted by the direction that AI is taking right now. And I think I do have the skills to impact that. And that's really what led me into working in AI safety. And so what I would suggest here for all of you is, if any of you are kind of asking similar questions or trying to think through your next direction, is the triangulation to those questions for you something that could impact the future of AI? Because it definitely needs impacting. So let's break it down, starting with passions. I know probably many of you wouldn't list AI as one of your passions, and that's fair. You might even feel kind of icky or fearful about a lot of what you see happening. But let me pose a few other passions that might resonate with you, like mitigating biases. So because AI is trained largely on existing data, like the entire internet, it propagates existing biases that exist and amplifies them. And particularly, all the gender biases that exist get amplified when there aren't women working in AI, which is unfortunately the case right now. So we see this appear in a lot of different ways. So for example, generative imaging. There's one study that found that when you ask models to create a picture of a doctor, 82% of the time it shows a man. Whereas in the UK, where the study was conducted, doctors are only 47% men. So this is biases propagating biases, and you'll see similar things with like a picture of a CEO or other kind of like gender skewed fields. But this really matters because there was actually a Stanford study that showed that when people see imagery of people in careers online, it actually affects what they picture then going forward in terms of what gender they picture for that particular career. So that has implications. But it's not just imagery either. So another really broad study that analyzed looking at AI resume parsers across different models found that these AI tools preferred names associated with men in 55% of the cases, and names associated with women in 11%. And the rest of the percents were name agnostic. But so, bias like that has an impact on who gets hired and who gets paid. And then, as you've actually heard a couple times here tonight, biases in healthcare. This is huge. AI in healthcare tends to yield worse results for women time and time again. So one study that I was looking at showed that when an AI model was used to analyze blood tests to look at liver disease, that it missed twice as many cases in women as it did in men. So you can see how this starts to propagate into like life and death results when these biases aren't addressed. So feels like something to be passionate about, right? Another passion that I certainly have is I am passionate about being paid equitably. How about you? Obviously, there's already an existing gender pay gap, but there's a huge risk of that widening even more with the future of work as it relates to AI for two reasons. One is that women are underrepresented in the AI workforce, and AI jobs are going to be a lot of the most lucrative jobs in the future. And two is that AI-driven job displacement is disproportionately affecting women. So actually 30% more women than men are losing their jobs over things like layoffs due to restructuring, due to AI automations. So clearly that has a really broad impact. I like the phrase, I think we've all heard before, that nothing bad happens when women have money. I agree with that. And I think that and right? And so more women working in AI means more women having money, and good things tend to come from that. Another passion for you, I don't know if anyone can do this for me, but impacting the technology itself. So as you think about what the world looks like as AI becomes more powerful and more omnipresent, there's a pretty big range there. I think it goes from like really helpful, like positive impacts to like completely dystopian. And who is working on this is going to determine what direction we go. Right now, unfortunately, only 12% of AI researchers are women. And when you look at the global AI workforce, it's estimated to be about 22 to 30% women, which is not enough. When you think about who is influencing what happens, I think that that's something that we can be completely passionate about. And I'll name that the passion could be fear-based. I think that's valid, right? Being scared of the bad scenarios can sometimes be enough passion to want to be part of the solution and not ending up there. So if any of those passions or any other ones that you might be able to come up with might lead you into thinking, maybe I would like to impact the future of AI, then next let's look at, do you have the skills to do that? And I would say yes. Oh. Well, I would say yes, and there's some slide behind me about it. Because AI is taking over more of the logical, the things that can be automated, the predictable things. That means that the uniquely human skills, things like empathy and compassion, and things that were originally coined like soft skills, those become more important than ever. And so it's not just about being able to go deep and build in that space, but being able to interpret the human side of things. We actually see this at mpathic. We have this pool of thousands of mental health experts around the world, and we work with them to help ensure that AI models are keeping humans safe. These are not AI experts at all. They're human experts. And it's that expertise that is completely needed to understand those nuanced interactions. Another thing that could be a skill that you bring to the table is strategic problem solving and creative thinking. So because AI has been trained on existing ideas, it's not as good at coming up with new ideas. And that's where you come in. And actually, I think that's kind of where I shine in the space too, is being able to think of ideas that haven't existed yet and how those might be brought to fruition. So it's, I don't know, I think that's something that all businesses need, and then probably there's a really wide range of roles that can lead to that kind of transferable skill. One more skill for you, and this one's for the parents in the room. Are you good at raising children? I mean, we're probably all screwing our kids up in lots of ways, but also we've probably all built up some skills too, right? And that same kind of skill is what's needed in building AI. So things like building, training, prompting AI models, a lot of different experts have likened that to raising children because there's a lot of similarities there. So things like teaching somebody how to learn, or teaching how to understand right from wrong or morality. These are really nuanced things that I think we learn from parenting. I actually think there's a lot of ties there to people management as well, which is another skill that many of you might bring. So my point is that at this point, with AI being so prevalent, it doesn't mean that you have to have deep AI skills to work in AI or to really impact the future. There's so many different transferable skills that we can all be bringing, and really all lines of the business require that at this point. So, if you might have been convinced that you have some passions that could lead you to wanting to work in this space, and that you might have some skills that could help you do so, then I'm here to answer the final piece of the trifecta, which is that you definitely are needed. History is literally being made right now, and it needs a much more diverse range of people working on it in order to be on that right side of history and create the future that we're going to be living. Thank you. And my last thing I want to mention is just that I really love this theme of giving for International Women's Day, and so I'm just putting it out there. I'm very easy to find, and I would love to cheer you all on, help you think through your nonlinear paths that you're forging, and I love connecting with cool women in the Seattle area. So find me, let me know how I can be of help, and I'm really grateful to be here tonight. Thank you.